Hey, everybody, it's me, Steve Schnee,
Hey everybody, Sal Baglio.
And Bruce Brodeen.
and you are watching Skips and Scratches.
I bought a brand new record, 12 inches. I bought a brand new record, 12 inches. It's a big old record, it's 12 inches.
When you'd walk into a store, was it always like, okay, well, I have to check the James Brown section, the Beatles section, the Supreme section, or whatever? Was there any sections that you just always had to go make sure to
Great
check,
question.
or did you just go through the store and just start digging?
I would probably just start digging. Later on, in the early 80s, I had done a show at this place called the Rusty Nail in Sunderland, Massachusetts. And we came in the night after NRBQ had played there. And I had only kind of heard about them. I didn't know any of their music.
Uh-huh.
And one of the guys on our road crew knew one of the guys on their road crew who happened to, he had to come back into the club the next day as we were setting up to pick up something. And he introduced him to me. His name was his nickname was Soaks. And he gave me a copy of Tiddlywinks
Mm-hmm.
by NRBQ. And he said, you know, this is for you, you know, you're going to enjoy this. That record stayed in my apartment unopened for, I don't know how long. Like, I mean, months, maybe a year, for whatever reason. Then we opened a show for them at Clark University in Worcester. And I saw them and I heard them and it just tore my head off. I went home, I opened that album, I put it on. First song was Me and the Boys.
Yep.
I became a fanatic after that, you know.
Yeah.
So whenever I went to any record store, I would always look in the bin. And of course, by that time they had already put out dozens of records, you know.
Yeah.
And so I was just go. I would go to used stores wherever I was. I would always go look for an NRBQ record, and I would find some new record, you know, that maybe came out a few years before, or
Yeah.
Grooves in Orbit.
Oh, I could do a show just about seeing
NRBQ. We
shows.
could. But that's what happened. We had done a show with them, and I finally heard them, and I went back and opened that record up. And that sent me on a lifelong, you know, I've been a lifelong fan. And I've been very, very fortunate to play with them a bunch of times. And
Yeah, just a legendary live band.
greatest, greatest, you know.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I never saw them in Boston, ironically enough, Sal. I always would drive down to Providence and see them at the Living Room.
Right.
You know, that was their mainstay because it was smaller, it was cheaper. And it took me the same amount of time to drive there. So I was very strategic with that. But wow, what a great live band. My first record, bought at Nuggets, was, you know, at Yankee Stadium shortly after it came out.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, you know, I wish I could go be cooler and different, you know, and have a deep Q record. But why? I mean, that record is perfect.
Yeah.
It is, you know, it is their most iconic and best one for a reason because every single song is amazing. And it just holds up and it really is timeless.
Well, I like what you said, Bruce. We could do a whole
Yeah. I mean,
on that band.
My claim to fame with seeing the Q live was Big Al pulled me up on stage at the Living Room. You know, I was, you know, down front, you know, I'm an air, you know, I'm one of the world's best air guitars here. You're actually, you know, graced to have on your show here today, Steve. You know, I was always just rocking furiously at the front of the stage. I don't remember what song it was, and you know, I had been drinking for sure, and got pulled up on stage, and was dancing around.
That's awesome. I've never seen him. Never seen him live. I've collected the records, or I mean, records back then, CDs now. Never saw them live. But you see, that's where the heart of their popularity is.
Yeah, it's live.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made a few, they made a handful of really good records. For me, even to be as big a fan as I am, they were, still kind of spotty.
Yeah.
Their whole body of work, most of which I do own.
Yeah.
But it's, just sort of piecemeal. But yeah, but that at Yankee Stadium, I mean, that should be at the Smithsonian. It's that great.
Yeah. To sort of answer the question that I originally put forward that led to this NRBQ is, when I'm in a record store, I still go to bins of bands that have been broken up for 20 years. And I'm kind of connected in terms of, I work in the business, so to speak. So I know what reissues have come out. I know what remasters. I know all that kind of stuff. So I stay on top of it. But still, I'll go to the bins and I'll look in that band's section to see if there's anything new. Even though I own everything and there's nothing that's come out in the last 20 years, I still look, because you never know. Somebody might have some weird Japanese thing I don't know about that had 3 bonus tracks. And so, but generally speaking, there are not bands that I really search for. I just start whenever I hit record stores back in the day. I don't know if you guys did this, but I would hit the miscellaneous sections. I would just scan all the bands that had bin cards, but I'd always start with miscellaneous A and just go through every miscellaneous A, then sort of scan everything just to see, does that Badfinger section look, does it look a little thicker this week? Do the Beatles look a little thicker? Here, I'll see there might be something new there. Then I go miscellaneous, and always the biggest and best section in my world was always the miscellaneous S section. And I'm not saying that because of the Stompers, Sal, but that was always.
I was just going to say the same thing. I was going to cut you off just to see if I could guess, because it was for me too.
Yeah.
I wasn't consciously strategic. I had a different approach every time. For me, it was, I did have a science, and we'll talk about this on another show. But there's a science to what we're talking about here when you break it on down for real, record buying geek. But for me, it was with Nuggets, because it all began, the Alpha and Omega was Nuggets from 77 to 81.
Yeah.
So for me, it was, you would think I would go to the beeline to the discount records, but it really was, you walked down the stairs and you walked right into the new releases, because you were looking for, these kinds of finds.
Yeah.
And the new promos, I knew the stations were dumping on certain days.
Yeah.
And I would make sure, because I had talked to the record store clerks, when did they come in every week? They didn't come in this week. You'd be really disappointed to see what the promos were that they were going to put out. So I was always in the new releases. And from there, it depended on what was on the want list. And then if things weren't happening, there wasn't any traction or momentum, the first place I went to was Miscellaneous S.
Yeah.
Always. Miscellaneous S was the first stop after the priorities.
Yeah. Miscellaneous S is where I found the first. I went in there searching for it, but I didn't go in searching in the S section. But it's where I found the import copy of the first Prefab Sprout album, because the album was called Swoon, and Swoon was in big letters, and Prefab Sprout was. So it was a brand new band, import. So the guys just stickered it and go, "Oh, Swoon's the name of the band," and they put in. I loved that kind of stuff, stumbling across things. That's it for this episode of Skips and Scratches. My name is Steve Schnee.
All right, everybody, keep a nickel on that tone arm. This is Sal B saying, see you next week.
And I'm Bruce Brodeen, and as always, pop on.
Remember to share, comment, like, and subscribe. Remember to click the bell and get notifications. And we'll see you next time on Skips and Scratches.